Hello and welcome to episode 53 of The Fish Tank. 40 years ago, when the Beatles released a song called Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, they say it was 20 years ago today Sgt Pepper asked the band to play. Well, 1 year ago today, the Fish Tank came out to play, you could say, because it is exactly 1 year ago to the day that I recorded the first ever Fish Tank with the iconic words of hello and welcome to the first ever Fish Tank. Was I think pretty much what I said at the time. As I say, we're a year on and it's episode 53. And 53 is, by the way, the number that is on the front of Herbie's car in the Herbie films. And to celebrate a year's worth of Fish Tank, I've got some flags up behind me there, and a couple more here. Yeah. Wave little flag. Nothing to do with the Fish Tank, that's just promote an ice rink in Stoke. So it's time for Apology of the Week now. On last week's show, when talking about Quote of the Week, I said, you don't get closer to France than Plymouth. I've been asked to point out by someone, a person called Tony pointed this out to me, that wasn't sort of, this person being stupid. It was actually a bit of advice to people. Apparently it was just a case of, saying to people, guys, you don't go closer to France than Plymouth. So just a warning there. So sorry if I sort of made the commentator who said that sound a bit stupid. I do acknowledge now that it was giving just genuine advice. So what's been going on this week? Well, I bought a nice new pair of cricket gloves the other day, so I think I'm going to put these on for the rest of the episode, might as well. And, other things have been going on. America's election has been going on. It's almost 9 years ago today since President Bill Clinton, was involved in the sex scandal of Michael Lewinsky. This week he's been sort of getting really up behind Hillary Clinton and, rebutting any criticism she's had, sort of having a go at all the journalists and stuff. I suppose you can't really expect him to sort of like lay back and take it, as he has done in the past. As I say, it's 9 years ago since the scandal that was involved. I think Hillary Clinton said at the time that when it was announced, she was gulping for air and couldn't breathe when she first heard the news, which ironically was very similar to what Michael Lewinsky said at the time as well. Obviously it was quite a big news story, but Clinton says that it was blown out of proportion, as apparently was he at the time as well. So the thing I slightly dislike about Hillary Clinton is they're talking about becoming the next president, but she's probably served about 4 years worth of time as president, because you think the amount of times that Clinton has spent sort of out with his office trainees and Monica Lewinsky out in the stationery cupboard and stuff, Hillary's probably ran the show for quite a long time. Well, there you go. So there's been quite a lot of other things going on with America. The interest rates there have been cut. Basically their economy is in total freefall because they've been loaning money out to people, and this money's not come back. So people are just concerned as to where this money is. I think they'll soon be putting pictures of the money that they've lent out on sort of milk cartons in America and things like that, as they do with missing children. They just want to know the money's safe, basically. So as I say, the Fed reserves have sort of been under a lot of pressure, which is probably why he got knocked out of the Australian Open. So nice joke there for any tennis fans there who noticed Roger Federer underperformed at the Australian Open, unfortunately. So that's been going on as well. People are concerned, is this lull in the American stock exchange, is it going to be sort of like a long and shallow fall, like sort of an Olympic-sized paddling pool, or is it going to be short but deep, like Danny DeVito? Who I often consider to be a very deep thinking man. So also I saw a big thing about fish in the news the other day. Really long story about fish, saying that apparently if you want to get a fish in this country, the fish that gets caught in this country is then sent on a boat over to Thailand to be skinned and sorted out ready for consumption. It's put on a boat back to this country where it can get processed further to be so it's eaten. So they're putting fishes on the boats. What the hell are they playing at? Why don't they just get the fish to swim to Thailand? It'd be much easier. But people claim that it's going to release a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere and do all that kind of thing and make the sea level increase. But quite wrong actually, because you're going to counterbalance that by taking the fish out of the sea, which decreases sea level. So there you go. So it's time for the Slabometer now as well. I'd like Alan Sugar on the show because I heard him this morning talking about Jeremy Beadle. So I've been talking about the Beatles earlier. I'm talking about the Beadle. And yeah, he was on the show talking about how good Jeremy Beadle was. Because he died last night, sadly. Jeremy Beadle, a very profound man by the sounds of it. So I'd like Alan Sugar to sort of talk a bit about him. Because I assumed he was just like a bit of a prankster who wasn't really all that clever, but not so. I was tempted to do a lot of jokes about Jeremy Beadle, but I'm not going to. He's a very, very clever man. Raised apparently about £100 million for charity as well in his lifetime. So a great man who's going to be sadly missed, I'm afraid. But there you go. So it's time for headline of the week now, and this one is I'm not sure it's from an American newspaper. It's about something in Australia, and actually links in with the fish tank, the tank from episode 28. Episode 28 going missing. Yeah, it says the headline is "Army Vehicle Disappears." Underneath it says an Australian army vehicle worth $74,000 has gone missing after being painted in camouflage. So they obviously did a good job camouflaging it. Perhaps they sort of camouflaged it as a building or something, and now someone's living inside it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And it's time for quote of the week as well, which comes from Jimmy Hill. And he says, it comes from Jimmy Hill and Terry Venables. It says, Jimmy Hill says to Terry, Terry, don't sit on the fence, but what do you think is Germany's chance of winning? Terry Venables says, I think it's 50-50. So he quite clearly has sat on the fence, quite a lot. About as on top of the fence as you could possibly be. He could actually stand on the fence and be balanced perfect. He's that finely in the middle of the fence. So that's all for this week's Fish Tank, and I'll see you next week for episode 54. But before we go, I've got to announce that apparently a man has had sex 7 times in the space of 45 minutes, which is the shock of 2 of Britain's top doctors who were sat at the table next to him in the restaurant. So there you go, I'll see you next week. Actually, I can't stop, I've got my gloves on. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.